What people listening don't know, except now they're about to, because I'm going to tell them, is that this is the third attempt we have made at a cold open.
Yes. We had some technical difficulties.
That might be part of it, but I think the bigger part, you floated the possibility as we get into the episode this week, it'll become clear why, if people hadn't figured it out already.
You're talking about my situation.
Your situation might bring a new influx of listeners to this podcast. And as soon as you suggested that possibility, I got super nervous. And so now
I think you maybe have more anxiety about my situation than I have about my situation at this point.
well, I would imagine you're pretty numb to it by now.
Yeah, I don't really feel anything right now.
Of any kind, for
Nope.
any reason.
I had a real nice bowl of ice cream the other night. That was good.
That's life on the internet these days, baby. All right, I'm taking half a Xanax right now so we can get through this podcast.
Oh no. He actually is. I thought this was a bit.
Nope. Well, hey, that's the thing when you podcast constantly, you figure out that all of life is a bit.
That's that's the grimmest thing of all. Hey, I got a question for you.
Okay.
What's your controller of choice for video games
Wait.
on PCs?
We did that episode like last fall.
Oh yeah, we did rank them, didn't we?
We did. You're gonna have to be more specific than that.
So when you're playing, for example, let's say a PlayStation 1 game on your Mister, a FPGA based hardware emulation of old consoles platform. Are you going to plug in like an old DualShock or Dual Stick? I don't even remember what the first one was called on the PlayStation. Or are you going to just use like a DualShock 4 and call it a day?
DualShock 4, as a matter of fact, is my controller of choice generally for the Mister for all things. So I'm going to stick with that.
Wait, what? You play like SNES games on a DualShock 4?
Dude, yeah. Like it's literally got the like that is in fact why the Super Nintendo is the main reason that I chose the DualShock 4 because
oh man, I haven't
like it's got the same 2x2 face buttons and like the same two shoulder buttons, the same start and select, like subtracting the parts that were not on the SNES controller.
Yeah.
The layout is identical to a SNES controller.
Okay, so what about Genesis games?
It gets a little sticky.
Okay.
I tend to go for the Street Fighter 2 style of mapping there.
Where it's like square X triangle or square X circle.
Yes. Well, no. So it'll, oh my God, now I'm getting confused. It'll be like light and medium punch on the face buttons, the heavy on one of the bumpers.
Oh, you're playing fighting games.
Well, I mean, for a 6-button situation.
Okay.
Yes. How about you?
I bought an IM 8-bit or an 8-bit DOE SNES SC30 and a Genesis pad. Yeah, one of those. I have one of those, but I have the Japanese color scheme instead of the American color scheme.
Super Famicom color scheme.
Yeah,
endlessly superior to the American.
Literally in every way.
It's so good.
But I haven't plugged any modern gamepads into my Mister. I don't think I've only done. No, I only do those 8-bit DOE ones.
Oh wow! Like anything works. Like any kind of generic HID USB controller pretty much rings up at this point.
Well, so I got a fancy steering wheel that has like direct drive motors and all that for some other stuff a few months ago.
Oh no. And
I want to plug in like Cruisin' and there was the golden era of of arcade racers that I feel like I can get into. I think I'm even probably set up to do Hydro Thunder, although I don't have a throttle. I just have a pedal. I just have pedals.
None of those are on the Mister.
Yeah. Well, those wouldn't be on the Mister. Yeah.
There are, MAME exists.
Outrun is on the Mister, I think, right? Maybe not.
In the arcade version?
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, not to turn this into Mr. Hour, didn't Hotego just put out a bunch of System 16 games? Is that one of those? That's a Sega platform.
So this is one of those places where I have massive gaps in knowing what is what, because like for me, kind of in my head, I realize that this is not the case, but for me, a lot of arcade games are just arcade games and they're grouped by the place that I played them.
Okay. So these are bowling alley games. This is a Pizza Hut game.
This is Spy Hunter is always Mr. Gaddy's.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars Arcade, the Vector Star Wars Arcade game was at the public swimming pool.
Well, no, our public swimming pool was Frogger, actually.
Oh, you had Frogger.
We had Frogger and Mr. Do, I believe.
Wait, did you play the Frogger at the swimming pool? Did you get zapped constantly?
Yeah. The cool thing was you had to make sure you were real dry. And also if there was a puddle in front of the machine when you were playing it, you would get the shit shocked out of you. Yes.
Look, such was my need to play that Vector Star Wars game.
Look, man, I would, Yeah, I would take a lot of hits to get four flies in Frogger. For me, Frogger is a game that is best experienced. Do you remember those lollipops, those chalky ones that were like orange on the bottom and green on the top? Mm-hmm. And they had the stick it was hard plastic, but it had a hole through it. That's the ultimate sucking air through that straw through the lollipop while you're playing Frogger. Is like the ultimate mid-June experience for me as a child.
Cheap lollipops, bad arcade machines, and electrocution.
Oh, yeah.
Now that's summer.
Zap me, baby. Welcome to Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. I'm Will.
I'm Brad. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Hello. Hi. Hi. Hello.
Hello.
What are we going to talk about today? Anything interesting happened with you this weekend?
Not really. I'm monitoring myself now. I can actually hear myself talk in this podcast.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, for the first time in forever.
It means that you'll do less of the thing where you talk away from the microphone because your brain just automatically makes you stay in the right spot when you're talking if you can hear yourself.
Right, but also I got the fancy microphone with the variable D. So I can actually talk like this, and I can keep talking like this, and it minimizes the proximity effect. I'm not going to say it completely eliminates it.
They tell you that, but it's a lie because I could still hear you get softer and louder.
Hey, man, I said minimize. Minimize does not mean eliminate.
Oh, no.
I'm trying to. Okay.
Look, don't play God over there, man.
Okay. I'm sorry. I completely glossed over your setup. You threw me an underhand lob, and I whiffed it. Nothing interesting happened to me this weekend, Will. How about you?
Yeah, just hanging out, played some video games, did some stuff with my daughter, worked on a puzzle, watched the Academy Awards on Sunday night, normal weekend.
I did too, right up until about 7:25-ish or so when I was like, this is fine. I haven't seen any of these movies. I think I've gotten my fill of the Oscars for another year and turned it off.
Yeah, that's one way to handle it. I watched on and got to a point where there was a joke. Chris Rock came on and told a joke about Will Smith's Jada Pinkett Smith. And then Will Smith walked up on stage and slapped him in the face. And I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. Because my name on Twitter, because I've been on Twitter since January of 2007, when I was on a panel with one of the Twitter co-founders at a conference.
Which one?
Ev Williams.
Evan. Okay. Was it
was it South by?
Wait, the bourbon guy?
No, he's just named. Look, we had this conversation. We literally had this conversation then because he was like, Will Smith. Oh, yeah, I bet you get as much grief about your name as I do. And I was like,
going to say, I bet he too gets that a lot.
Yeah. So I've been on Twitter for a very long time, and when I signed up, I made my name Will Smith because that's what you did if it was available.
Right. And now, hang on, before we get too deep in.
Yeah.
First, I'm going to pull up his IMDb page. Then I'm going to
Williams's.
Yes, I'm sure. Storied filmography. Also, while we're on the subject of Twitter founders, Biz Stone. I know it's not his real name. Like, is it the most effective power move in internet startup world, or is it like way over the line to call yourself Biz?
It seems very much. I don't know. There was a period of time in the early internet that I think was probably a result of Neil Stephenson and William Gibson, where people would have like weird names or like their handles would have a number in it that didn't make the sound. Like it wasn't like a 3 for an E or something like that. It would be like your name would be David, but the V would be a 5, right?
Right.
I feel like Biz Stone is an offshoot of that in the early internet startup days.
Sure. I could see that. Yeah.
He seems like a nice enough guy.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm not trying. I don't know the man at all. I just too nice. Let's say, hello, I am Business Stone.
Yes. I don't think. Anyway,
the thing I was going to ask you is like, okay, January, you said 2007?
January of 2007.
Like when you made that account, did it ever enter your mind at the moment you were picking a username that the actor, like the existence of the actor with the same name that this choice would ever come back to haunt you or meaningfully affect your life in any way?
So at that point in 2007, the idea that anyone of any importance that wasn't an enormous nerd would ever care about anything that happened on the internet was still a little bit novel.
God, that's
right.
Man, that is the grimmest thing. I mean, you said my thing about everything is a bit was grim. The thing you just said is 10 times worse.
I mean, I wrote a column about in Maximum PC, because that's where I was at that time, about how Twitter was a democratizing communication in a way that was wonderful and gave everybody access to talking to everybody else. It gave everybody a platform. And I was like, at the time, I thought that was a good thing.
Boy, that was hopelessly optimistic.
I mean, look, we all have learned a lot in the intervening 15 years.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, Will Smith walked up on the stage, and I thought it was a bit. I thought this was like a Academy Awards skit, right? When he walked up and smacked Chris Rock in the face. Mm-hmm. And then the audio on the telecast in the US went dead, but the video was still going. And I was like, this might not be a bit. And I looked over at my wife and I was like, do you think this is a bit? And she's like, no, this isn't a bit. And I was like, I don't think it's a bit either. And so, over the years, I've developed a finely honed instinct about when you need to be fast on the Twitters. Mm-hmm. Like if you're in California and you feel an earthquake, the first thing you want to do, you want to be the first person that posts that you felt the earthquake in your feed.
Earthquake.
Right? Yeah. So you just jam it out, get on there. Cause like as I'm laying there dying in the pile of rubble, I don't want to think, oh man, I wish I had let everybody know that there was an earthquake.
Right.
Yeah.
You want the algorithmic uplift.
Yeah. You want to be the one who was on the cutting edge of earthquake tweeting.
Because in the final analysis, the algorithms are the only thing you can take with you.
Yeah. So at 7:35, I tweeted whelp, period.
Uh-huh.
And then it became clear that this was going to be a topic of much conversation on the internet. So 2 minutes later, I said, I'm sorry if you're offended.
So that one threw me for a loop a little bit. I was like, is that a knowing joke? Is that supposed to be ironic? Like, were you spoofing the bad apology?
I'm sorry if you're offended is the bad apology, right?
Right.
I have nothing to apologize for.
So this is how brain poisoned Twitter, the internet, social media has made us. I was trying to sit there and peel back layers of, okay, is he tweeting that knowing that a bajillion people are going to confuse his account for the actor Will Smith? And does he want people to think that the actor Will Smith said, I'm sorry if you're offended?
I thought it worked on multiple levels, to be honest.
Okay, right. Yes. Okay.
Like I thought it was a good joke for the people who knew who I am and knew whose Twitter account it was. Yes. And I knew it would probably, I assumed it would probably rile up the people who, the presumably handful of people at that point who would have seen the tweet. And then the Oscars, let's see, about, I don't know, 12 minutes after that at 7:49 p.m. Pacific, they ran what I would describe as a really wildly inappropriate upbeat version of Spirit in the Sky, sung by a very talented choir of people over top of the In Memoriam segment.
Boy,
which is a choice. And so I tweeted, hopefully all anyone remembers at the end of the show is this inappropriately upbeat In Memoriam segment. Really pleased with that one. I'm going to say. Bad news
for you. Bad. Yeah. That was speaking of things that were hopelessly optimistic.
Yeah. Well, a few minutes after that, I was like, what is it? When people make a mistake and then they continue to amplify that mistake, what do? Oh, they tweet through it. So I tweeted at 7:52, going to keep tweeting through it.
Okay. I mean, it wasn't your mistake necessarily.
Yeah, but at this point, the bit is strong. Like my followers, people who know me are enjoying this a lot. Like this is fun for them.
Yes.
And I was like, let's make this, we'll have a good time with this. It's harmless, I thought.
Speaking of all life being a bit, sometimes you can turn your suffering into a fun time for everyone.
Look, if when I picked up the phone and tweeted whelp, I set myself on a course to shitpost my way through the Oscars kerfluffle. And once you get on, you can't stop. So then somebody tweeted at me, "Everybody hates Chris," which was the name of Chris Rock's show from like the early 2000s. I remember enjoying it at the time. I retweeted that. And then Will Smith won the Academy Award for Best Actor.
Yeah.
At, I don't know, like 8:16. I was like, oh, this is going to be bad now. So I tweeted, oh, shit.
Oh, yes. 8:16. Yes. You mean the moment that you tweeted, oh, shit.
Yeah. And then about, I don't know, 5 minutes after that. Oh, no, 30 minutes after that. I actually... I had to go tuck in my daughter. So I was off the internet for a little bit. And I came back. And at that point, became clear that there was going to be a problem because I was getting, I don't know, dozens of messages a minute by this point, probably. just from random people who were either upset or happy with Will Smith. So I said, real talk, I'm not the person you're upset/happy with. I make podcasts and video games for a living. At the risk of making people pissed off at me instead of that other guy, the world would be a better place if we stopped answering words with violence. Also, probably a mistake to add that at the end, but I felt like I had to make my point on punching people who aren't Nazis clear.
Never want to weigh in.
So yeah. So then,
I think I do not have personal experience here, but I think part of tweeting through it is explicitly not tweeting about it.
You think?
I think to successfully tweet through it, you have to talk about anything but it.
Oh, I feel like to tweet. I feel like an important component of tweeting through it is to continue to say why the thing that you did that was wrong was not wrong. Right. Like, I think you kind of got to lean in a way that is,
yeah, that's a valid strategy. Sure.
Yeah. It's not a good strategy. People should like, if you ever find yourself in a position where you've made a life choice that results in you going massively viral, trying to defend yourself probably isn't the right choice.
You know who seemed to pull that off that comes to mind? The wife snow shoveling guy. Remember that?
No.
A few months ago.
I missed that one.
The guy that posted a photo of his wife saying like, my wife is a nurse who just worked an overnight and now she's out there shoveling the driveway. Like, what a champ or something. It did not go well for him.
I can't imagine that he would be very popular as a result of his choices there.
But he did defend himself explicitly. Like his wife, guessing he had his wife post to Facebook about why it wasn't a big deal. He seems to have gotten through it, but I think he was a politician, so there was some.
Well, okay, so at 9 o'clock that night, by 9 o'clock that night, I took a screenshot, and the original Whelp tweet had 132,000 likes, 4,000 comments, and 20,000 retweets, which is like, just if you're a scientist of the ratios on Twitter, that's a bad ratio. You don't want to have that many replies to that many likes. It means that you've made a mistake. I think we've both been had stuff that's gone a little bit viral before.
Sure.
But that Whelp tweet was, according to a couple of bots that tweet the most liked and retweeted things, the most retweets of any tweet on March 29th, 2022.
The whole day, huh?
The whole day.
And you only had the last 4.5 hours.
No, the 29th was the next day. So it didn't get bad until the next morning is the takeaway. So at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock that night, it was 132,000 likes. When I woke up the next morning, it was 400,000 likes, I think. And the morning after that, 4 hours later, it was 600,000 or something like that. Like, it was accelerating through noon the next day. And I'm going to go and tell you, people are pretty upset.
Yeah, I can see it.
The weird thing that I didn't expect, having never been through this before, is that, there were the people that were upset with Will Smith. There were the people that were upset with Chris Rock.
Okay.
There were a pretty good contingent of people who weren't sure who they were upset with, but they were pretty sure they were upset at somebody.
Okay.
There were people who were definitely upset at both Chris Rock and Will Smith. Because,
yes.
Why not? And then there were the people who realized that somebody else could have the name Will Smith, just to be clear, one of the most common last names in the United States, one of the most common first names for a man in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Put together. There's I know a good half dozen Will Smiths that are semi-famous to famous, right? Not to mention opening the phone book in any given city and seeing, anywhere from a half dozen to 20 Will Smiths. There are a lot of people upset with me for having my name.
Oh, wait. Okay. That might be over the line.
Well,
all the others maybe have a case.
Look, why is this not famous asshole? A direct quote, by the way. Why is he verified on Twitter for being Will Smith?
It's because you refuse to give over the account, right? And we're talking out of order here. We should roll after you're done with the setup. We should walk through the timeline.
I didn't refuse to give up the account. I just signed up for the account. Dibs, yo.
Didn't they approach you at some point?
They asked for my Instagram account.
They meaning his people?
His people asked for my Instagram account years ago.
Oh, not the Twitter account?
We've talked about the Twitter account off and on, but I'm attached to the Twitter account. And they haven't engaged.
I see. Okay.
But yeah, no, I didn't use Instagram, and they asked for my Instagram account. And I was like, you can have my Instagram account. So you're welcome, everybody who follows Will Smith on Instagram. That's because of me.
Mm-hmm. we could go on and on about the categories of people who are upset. There are definitely people who I identify with, to be fair, who are upset about the entire thing continuing to take on this life that it has, and just wish everybody would shut up about it.
Right there with you.
I can say Daniel Radcliffe has joined those ranks.
He seems okay.
Yeah. He was like, I'm not going to weigh in on this when he was asked, because he was like, there are too many opinions about this out there already.
But there was a real great class of nuclear hot takes on Monday morning from people who were like applying it to the war in Ukraine and stuff like that. That was a hell of a take.
We can't even give that air. Like, come on.
I mean, there were a lot of those. There were people. I mean, the interesting thing to me about this is that often when this stuff happens, when somebody goes massively viral for being a dipshit, the person who did the thing that is wrong and the person who was wronged are usually fairly obvious in the eyes of the public, in the simplified eyes of the public. And on this one, there were legitimately a lot of people who were upset because they weren't sure who they should be pissed off at. Like I was not expecting that when this all kind of went down.
Fair.
Anyway.
Okay.
The thing that I didn't really understand, because like in the beginning of this, I just was doing my normal shit posting with friends, and like, you know, our mutuals of ours were replying to me and were like, this is a really funny post, and I would like it and say something, and then they would get dogpiled 2 hours later by the hundreds of thousands of people coming to this post looking for something to be angry about. So that was unfortunate. I realized I had to not reply to anybody on Twitter about 10 o'clock that night, maybe 11, right as I was getting ready to go to bed. It was a weird day, but I went to bed at the end that night because it had started to slow down as like the United States went to sleep, and I was like, oh, this will probably be all done tomorrow, no problems. And then woke up in the morning. There were a lot of like, well, I hadn't taken my email address off of my Twitter profile, my public facing one, which was a mistake.
Good stuff.
I had open DMs on still at that point, also a mistake.
Rookie mistakes.
And I woke up to a bunch of like New Zealand radio stations wanting interviews and weird emails, including emails from people who are like, hey, I clicked your email address in your Twitter profile and then I didn't know how to close that window. So I just sent you this message to get rid of it. Like so many of those. There's clearly a UI problem on one of the phone platforms. I don't know which one it is, but something to think about, either Google or Apple.
Could you ballpark how many interview requests you've gotten?
Probably 50.
Wow.
And like CNN reached out, although I did engage with them because I was like, yeah, I'll talk to CNN. That'd be fun. And then they were like, no, we're good. After they pitched it in their meeting, they were like, are you interested? I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, they're like, well,
did you wait too long? Did you wait too long?
I replied within like an hour of her emailing me. She was like, I'm going to pitch it in our meeting tomorrow morning and see what everybody thinks. And it'll either go or not, but I'll let you know as soon as I find out. And I was like, okay, whatever.
Harsh.
Look, I'm fine. Literally
good to know where you stand.
Yeah. At that point, I was literally like, I think this is going to be a good talk at a conference at some point, like as at an OrdCamp or one of the other conferences I go to. Like it'll be a fun way to like break the ice as a unconference topic or something. So like being able to close it with a clip from me talking about this stupid thing that happened to me on CNN would be really funny, but it didn't happen. So be it.
That's okay. All right. Well, I can think of like 8 different questions or directions to go with this from here.
There was a lot of coverage. It was in the New York Post.
Yeah.
It was in Uproxx.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
All the normal places.
So, okay. Question number 1, as of late day on the 31st, which is Thursday.
Yeah.
923.5 thousand likes. Do you expect 1 million?
I'm a little bummed. I don't think we're going to hit 1 million. It slowed down a lot over the last 2 days.
I feel like there's probably just some kind of runoff that just are like, I mean, you know, does bot activity count to you? Is that legit?
I mean, I don't have any way to distinguish bots from not bots at this point. It's so it hit 900,000 on end of day Monday or early Tuesday, and then it's been like 10 a day since then.
It really has slowed down. But
it's slowed down a lot.
Again, though, with bot activity, I feel like you could get over the line maybe in another week.
Look, I could cheat and add another tweet about him being, because like there's stories about the Academy. There's a bunch of stories about this that have followed on with like him being banned from the Academy or having some sort of sanction. Them asking him to leave during the show, but then maybe also they didn't actually ask him to leave. Like I could poke the fire a little bit and make it happen. But also I don't need that. I think at this point I'm probably good.
You know, you've kind of crested the wave, maybe just sort of chill on the beach now, I guess is the analogy.
I'm perfectly happy to fade back into obscurity,
Right.
relative obscurity at this point.
Yes.
It has been a weird couple of days.
I'm sure. Okay, some other stuff I have noticed here. I don't know if this is common to everything on Twitter now, or if this got added because this tweet blew up so much. This show hidden replies button.
Oh, so I don't know, like 2 years ago, they added the ability for posters to hide replies. So I hid the replies from the people who were the most awful.
Okay. Oh,
'Cause
wow. Well, I'm glad I clicked on it.
It turns out look, there are a lot of racists that post shit on Twitter, Brad.
Mhm.
Like really, really, like I described it to a friend as the kind of racist post that came as a result of this ranged from, oh, I have black friends, to like shit that I didn't ever want to see. So
Sure. Oh, of course.
don't
I
hit
believe
show
it.
hidden replies. I
Yeah.
blocked a bunch of people too.
Yes, probably don't. Although I will say some of the ones you hid are that weird rare category you mentioned of people who are actually mad at you, not the other Will Smith, for having your name.
Oh yeah, I hid those because it made it less fun for the other people.
That's
'Cause-
amazing.
Yeah,
So why do you have a blue check mark and using the same name?
there you go.
If
A
people
lot
are
of times
confused about your profile, it's on you.
a lot of times people would get hidden also if they just were really spammy, because there's a lot of that too. Like they'll post like 15 replies all to the top level post, and like I just didn't want to see them anymore.
Okay, I see. I assumed before I click on this that these were algorithmically hidden, not manually by you.
Some of them probably are also algorithmically hidden, would be my guess.
Yeah,
I also hid replies that were about. So another common thing that happens I've found over the years is that people will make they'll make fan pages for Twitter that don't explicitly call out that they're fan pages. Because like Will Smith, part of this happens because Will Smith isn't actually on Twitter.
at all.
No,
Oh, I assumed he just had an account under a different name.
his kids and his wife are, but he is
Okay.
not.
He's all about the gram, huh?
He's on the gram. He's on the snaps, I believe, probably also Facebook, but I don't know. And maybe TikTok, definitely YouTube. But yeah, so there was a Will Smith fan page that didn't say it was a fan page, didn't say it was parody, that had like 20,000 followers, and they got banned like a day after this, half a day after all this started. So
Just because of attention runoff.
yeah, I'm sure.
I see. Okay. Another thing I noticed, I don't know if you caught this one. I believe you may have interacted with this guy before, or you're at least definitely aware of him. Matt Gertz, the reporter,
Oh yeah.
who with the handle Matt Gertz, who is frequently mistaken for the lizard person wearing a congressman suit, Matt Gaetz.
Yes.
Uh,
He gets a lot of tweets about Matt Gaetz.
he does, but he quoted your whelp and said, "You're handling it great," which I found to be adorable because I am quite sure that you have been dealing with this issue before Matt Gaetz was even in politics.
Oh, definitely. But I think he, like, just to be clear, the other Michael Cohen and the other George Papadopoulos,
Uh-huh.
all, because like there's a guy, Michael Cohen on Twitter is not Trump's former lawyer. George
Right.
Papadopoulos on Twitter is not whatever George Papadopoulos was for Trump. Those guys definitely get it worse because
That's
the right-wing
fair.
people are lunatics, and this was just people who are like low key racist for the most part.
You're right. Yes. Yes. On the scale of odiousness, Matt Gaetz, like Will Smith, not even in the same galaxy.
There was, I think, a Daily Show segment or maybe a Colbert segment they wanted to do when the Michael Cohen stuff was happening with Trump, where they brought in all the people with famous names on Twitter to do a segment, like a support group for Michael Cohen. And we ended up not doing it because some other crisis happened in the Trump presidency that was more timely and interesting than flying a bunch of nerds to New York for this bit.
Sure.
I also shout out to John Jones, who's a game developer and makes really good ramen. And there's an MMA fighter who seems like a generally odious person who has the same name as him. So
I see.
Yeah,
a lot of people with this problem.
we have look. It is not an uncommon issue.
I suppose not. Let's see. What else do we want to cover here on this whole subject? Oh, here's a question I had for you. Did you consider yourself at any point the main character of Twitter? Do we even still talk in those terms?
I think Will Smith was probably the main character of Twitter, but I don't think I was the main character of Twitter.
I feel like one of the elements of that definition, though, is somebody that almost nobody's ever heard of prior to the offending incident.
Wow.
What?
Now I feel personally attacked.
Well, I mean,
I know.
mostly a bystander here, but you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, who was the progenitor of this whole thing? Was it Justine Sacco? Probably.
It was the woman who got
What's
on the plane and made an unfortunate comment on the way to Africa.
Right.
Yes, as I recall,
right.
South Africa, I think.
Justine Sacco rule of nobody knew who she was before the thing happened, right?
Yeah.
So like a decent number of people knew who you were, and a bajillion people knew who other Will Smith was before any of this happened. So I don't know if this is main character territory or not.
I mean, the thing that so this has happened before. Like, this has happened a lot over the last 20 years, 15 years for me, right? When they were shooting Men in Black 2, I think, in New York, Will Smith had a 3-story trailer that would park wherever they were shooting on location on any given day.
Wait, is that structurally sound?
Look, man, I don't. I'm not
three stories on wheels.
I'm not an architect. I don't know. All I know is that people in New York were pissed off all the time about the trailer, and they let me know about it on the daily. Like, it was it wasn't big spikes like this, but it was pretty much every day I would have a good half dozen people bitch about the trailer at my Twitter and be like, you're an asshole for having this big a trailer. You're blocking my window. The other thing that I constantly get, this is why I empathize with the guy, because like, people say awful shit about him and his wife and his family. Pretty much all the time.
I did not realize that. I don't keep up with celebrity gossip that much, but I've certainly gotten a crash course in like their relationship history over the last couple of years, just through osmosis in the last few days. And like, even seeing like, just there seemed to be a simmering vitriol toward them prior to this incident that it seems a little bit frightening, honestly.
I mean, it's a part of like their personage is positive, and you know, I feel like, generally speaking, he has worked to be a force for good in the world through the run of his career. And people like to cut those people down. So yeah, I wouldn't trade places with him for any amount of money in the world. I don't think. It seems like an awful way to live.
Probably.
So yeah, like, I actually don't remember what your question was. I'm sorry.
Main character. Probably not.
Yeah. Main character. I don't
think so.
Like, it's weird to be the person that everybody's pissed off at on the internet that day, and it's not actually you. It makes it like insulating in some way that's kind of okay.
Of course, you just made me realize when you said it, when you put it that way, like, of course you're not that, because that is the real definition, right? It's the person that everybody's mad at.
Yeah, like, if I had walked up and slapped Chris Rock, I would have been arrested and thrown in jail at that moment, which is another, like, that just to be clear, that's another thing people were angry about. If you weren't a rich person who was nominated for an Academy Award and you had hit somebody on stage at the Oscars, you would be hauled off in chains.
I mean, you know, not wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. It was the best. I told another friend who has actually experience with like mobs coming at them online, and it was like, look, it's not anywhere near as bad as anything that anyone who actually was attacked by either the alt-right or Gamergate or any of those kinds of things was, because it's like, they're not pissed off at me. They're not going to come. They're not threatening to come to my house. They're threatening to come to his house. And yada yada.
I mean, I can't speak from experience, but what people like that go through sounds like a living hell, and what you went through is more just like amusing and maybe like slightly annoying in spots.
It's a good story for cocktail parties. Like, the other parents at school pickup who were aware of who I am found it really funny.
Right.
But other than that, pretty minor.
Yes.
And it's all right. And like, this is Thursday after it happened, and like, it's still like my signal to noise ratio and my mentions on Twitter is still bad, but it's not unmanageable at this point.
I guess maybe that's another thing to mention, is that like, your pinned tweet now and before the incident and remains about the FOSPod.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of tweets at the TechPod and FOSPod addresses for this.
It just happened to be a tweet that I was tagged in, so I've gotten a good bit of the runoff from this.
Did you get any follows? Did new people follow you as a result?
Like none. So I've gotten a ton of replies, because a bunch of people have been replying to this tweet about probably the nerdiest podcast on the internet, or one of them. Tweet about open source software is getting a bunch of replies from people mad about the slap. Like, I guess nobody took the time to read the tweet. But anyway, I happened to be tagged into that. So I saw some of that stuff, but no, I have not gotten like really any followers at all out of that, but it seems like you sure have.
Well, yeah, I've gotten 120,000 followers in the last 4 days.
How many of those do you think are actual human beings?
I haven't really tweeted anything since then. I've tweeted a couple of Wordle things, and I tweeted about some ice cream I had the other night because I was really enjoying it and I forgot. That's not true. I wanted to poke the hornet's nest a little bit and see how bad it was going to be with something that was innocuous and wouldn't link out to anybody else. So I tweeted about the ice cream, and then I said, like, the ice cream is really good. You could even say that it slaps, just to see what people would see, how it would go.
Mm-hmm.
But lessons were learned.
Yeah.
It's
like the bait.
People absolutely grabbed the bait. Getting like 30,000 replies to something that you've posted, then plus a whole bunch of other stuff, it is a lot. I don't think, it seems like a lot of people continued to follow because either they were interested in the things that they scrolled through my feed and were like, hey, this seems fun. Like, I got a lot of like, hey, your posts are really good. And also you're really like the way you've handled this is really funny. So I'll follow it because you seem like an interesting dude to follow on the internet. I don't know.
I'm looking at some of the quote tweets on the this ice cream really slaps tweet, and a fair number of people appreciated it.
Look, I feel like a fair amount of our shared friends, like are people who use this really slaps language a lot. So, you know, Connie Hewitt, though, however, said it's not funny. It's like a murderer saying, I guess I killed it. I lost all respect for you. So I guess I've lost her as a fan forever. That's unfortunate. Sorry, Connie. Sorry if you're disappointed.
Honestly, I can't believe it.
My guess is I shed about 96% of these people over the next 6 months as they are exposed to the kind of content I post.
So they realize the profound mistake they have made.
Yes. I'm going to go and tell you, it's a bummer because like I want to say I worked hard, but like I've been tweeting at a pretty steady pace for like 15 years and I got 130,000 followers just by my normal nonsense. And just to be clear, regularly post that I'm not the actor to get rid of the people who sign up because they think I'm the actor for some unknown reason.
Now, do you do that unprompted? Is that something that's just like, well, it's a new month, it's time to let people know? Or is it just when there's an inciting event?
So when he has a new movie, like when he releases a new movie or something like that, usually I do it just because I get a lot of follows as a result of that. And then I'll try to get rid of them. Because like it doesn't do me any good to have people following me if they expect shit about Will Smith's movies and music, right?
Yeah. I went to, like I said, I pulled up his filmography. Oh gosh, right, because I was trying to put myself into your head in 2007 in terms of where his movie career was at that point, but I forgot that Independence Day was like freaking 1996.
Yeah, so
like he had done all Ali, Bad Boys, all the Men in Black movies. Like he was a massive celebrity by 2007.
So when I started at Maximum PC in 2000, John Phillips, who was the editor of the magazine at that point, was like, hey, what do you want your byline to be in the magazine? I was like, well, he was like, if you want to change from Will Smith, now is the time. I was like, well, you know, Wild Wild West just came out and it was an enormous flop. So I maybe he's done. I think it's probably like he had one good movie. He's just going to probably disappear at this point. We'll never hear from him again. It'll be fine, right? I'm just going to go with Will Smith. And I mean, mistakes were made.
The rest was history.
Yeah.
Well, hey, guess what? History continues to be written. There's nowhere to go from here but up. I'm running out of platitudes. What do you got?
Look, realistically, this happened because it happened on a TV show that's shown around the world, right? Yeah. I have to assume that this is, I hope to God that this is the high water mark for stupid shit happening to me on Twitter because of my name. Fingers crossed.
It really, when you put that tweet out, it really did have the feeling of a culmination of just like, you know, this has been happening in one form or another for a very long time. It has now reached its apotheosis.
Yeah, there's no...
Like, this is the peak of this particular phenomenon.
like when you have a Twitter post that has nearly 1 million likes on it, it's tough to beat that unless you're like Lady Gaga or something, Taylor Swift maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel pretty good about where I am.
My last question that I forgot to ask.
Oh yeah,
did you get approached by any companies that are soliciting like their weird little like nightlight contraption that like projects a bunch of stars up on the ceiling, or like?
I turned DMs off probably before those people would have noticed.
I guess that's probably the only way they would get to you.
Look, if I wanted to promote some NFTs, Brad, I had lots of opportunities to get in on the ground floor. Mm-hmm. But I just blocked all of those people out of hand because
what do they offer you?
I assume some like a percentage of the Ethereum they get from selling the picture. I don't know. I didn't engage
specifics. Oh, I know you did.
Yeah.
Just want to know what their sales pitch was like.
Like I didn't, to be honest, I didn't like, there was so much coming in. I didn't even engage I feel kind of bad because like the local radio people in New Zealand and Australia who all wanted to talk to me, I like those people are just doing their jobs and I feel bad. Usually when somebody solicits me for something, it's like a good faith solicitation. Hey, can you come talk about something? I will say, no, I don't have time to do this. Unfortunately, there were so many of them coming in. I couldn't even do that. It was ridiculous. And the number of DMs that were coming in, the number of DMs that I woke up to. So I don't know if they do this on non-verified accounts, because I haven't looked at Twitter DMs in a long time on a non-verified account, but they filter them by like people who you follow and have engaged with in the past. And then there's also everybody who sends one in cold goes into a bucket. And I didn't realize that there were 2 layers of bucket. There's really? Hey, these are the people who are probably okay. And then there's ones that are like, these are pretty obviously spam, or maybe they have links in them. I don't know. It's unclear. It's a lot. There's thousands of them. And most of the really horrible stuff is in the DMs. I'm scrolling through these right now. I was like, wow, that is a really awful thing to say to somebody.
Oh, I believe it. Even on a normal day, I can't believe anybody in your position, or frankly, anyone, has open Twitter DMs.
Well,
what would possess you to do such a thing?
Well, here's one. Hey, can you ratio Bungie for having terrible armor design for Destiny 2, the video game? Thanks.
Okay, this is just getting ridiculous.
I mean, at least that's not a horror. It could be worse.
It's not explicitly racist, I guess, that has that going for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a weird couple of days.
Mm-hmm. Well, glad you survived.
It's funny. Everybody at work, whenever I disagreed with somebody about something, they were like, hey, please just don't slap me.
All right.
I don't know. I feel like I can't say anything slaps for a long time now, probably.
You burned that one. I mean, you used it pretty well, but again, you only get to do that one once.
I'm just saying in general, though, like in regular conversation, it's out. There are so many DMs in this second tier filter. I had no idea. There's it just keeps going. It's page after page after page after page.
Anything else you want to favor us with before we depart?
I would suggest that people try to be less angry. It's better for you to not be angry all the time. That's it. That's what I got.
No standout examples, nothing fun in there.
Hold on. I took screenshots of all the good stuff. Stephen A. Smith, the ESPN guy.
Oh yeah, I saw him. I saw a video he posted about
this. He got really pissed off at me specifically. He kept tweeting at me.
Wait, what?
He was just pissed off at Will Smith, but he kept tweeting at me because despite dozens and dozens of people saying that. Oh, here is something I would like to say. Like a lot of people have gotten into the mentions and are like, hey, this isn't that Will Smith, right? And I haven't had to explain it at all, which is nice. I would ask those people to please be kind. Most of the people that are tweeting are not trying to be malicious. So, we don't need to call names and stuff like that in there.
I mean, I'd say that goes for just about everybody on social media.
Yeah, it's good policy.
Let's try to be kind.
There's a really good I'll give you, here's an image. This one, I had tweeted, let's see, from the Friday PUBG games, there was a really funny shot where it looked like I had an enormous hand pointing at a house. And somebody thought that was really funny and said Chris Rock should be happy it was the other Will Smith that slapped him. That was maybe the funniest one I got. I don't know.
All right, sure.
It was weird. It was weird to get notes from people who saw it in different newspapers and in the National Post and stuff, the New York Post and stuff like that.
Yes. How does this make you feel at the hypothetical high school reunion that you may or may not ever go to?
I don't think it'll come up by then. Probably
not,
because that would be June, right?
Yeah.
it trended on Twitter for like 48 hours ish, which is not ever what you want. I got a Darth tweet, which is nice. Do you not know Darth? Darth is a tech thing, I think, maybe more than a games thing. Darth is they're a Firefox, a red panda.
Just at Darth?
At Darth.
Okay.
They do good tweets. Sometimes they hibernate. They just came out of hibernation, and Darth said, "Just answer the questions, Congressman." So anytime like you rate a Darth tweet, I feel like that's interesting.
Wait, how do I go into hibernation?
You just don't. You say, "Hey, I'm going into hibernation," then don't post for 3 months.
I think I'm going to do that as soon as we get off here. Oh, wait, I skipped the crucial step. I didn't say that I was going to hibernate. I just stopped tweeting.
Yeah, look, you got to announce it, and then you have to come back at some point.
I'm really bad at this, I think.
A lot of people tried to get me to talk to P. Diddy about him solving the beef between.
You should have done it.
I kind of thought about that, but I was like, I don't know if I want to talk about P. Oh, TV Guide tagged me by accident. That was fun. Let's see. Oh yeah, the other good one was anytime I liked something that was related to this, people would send me pictures of, because Twitter tells you when somebody that you're following likes a post, and it's like, the Academy does not condone violence of any form. Tonight, we are delighted to celebrate our 94th Academy Award winners who deserve this moment of recognition from their peers and movie lovers around the world. Will Smith liked this post. So that was pretty good. I don't know. It was real weird. The whole thing was weird.
Yes. Well, glad you made it through.
Yeah.
Now you can get back to normal life.
I'm pretty excited about that. It's time. It's time that we all move past the slap. Mm-hmm. I muted Slap yesterday on Twitter, and it's a better place. So
I think we have. I think the apologies have been issued on all sides.
I don't think that's true.
I think we're done. I think it's over.
I don't think Chris Rock apologized, and
we did. Yeah, absolutely.
We did.
Like the first, like I think the same night or like early next morning. Like he was the first one out there, I think, with a statement.
Good for him. People, it turns out on Twitter, I should have probably tweeted Will Smith's pictured apology for him because a lot of people didn't know that he apologized.
That would have been really funny if you had just like started acting as his de facto PR.
I mean, he's not paying me, so I'm not interested in really doing that.
Well, hey, I think you probably had a certain level of self-interest in getting his message out there that he was apologetic. Like there was a certain self-serving aspect to that. If it decreased your own traffic on your Twitter account. Anyway. Yeah,
I mean, that's true. That's true.
Anyway.
It was definitely some self-interest there.
Yes.
Let's I guess we're at the end of this. This is a listener supported show. This is the thing we don't normally talk about me. It's really uncomfortable doing this.
Oh, yes, I'm sure. Well, hey, here's your out. Let's stop talking about you.
Perfect.
Let's talk about the people who support this show.
Yeah, the Brad and Will made a tech pod. We usually talk about technology stuff. Usually it's like a single issue topic, something that you can learn or do or something that's useful for you, hopefully. And we do it every month. So we would love every week. Wow, we do it every week? So much podcasting. How does anybody have time? But we would love to have new people come in and join the community. We have a really a Discord with like 3,000 people in there that are posting on the reg about everything from like learning to code to learning to solder to like movies that they like and books that they're reading and music that they're into and making music. And like it's a fabulous community full of people with a wide variety of interesting hobbies and vocations. And we would love to have you there.
Beautiful nerds is the way that we have put it.
Beautiful. Hey, Brad, I have a confession. Mm-hmm. Roman Mars calls the people who listen to 99% Invisible beautiful nerds. And I think I maybe stole that from him.
Okay. All right. Forget. Who? What?
Yeah, never mind. Anyway, we would love to have you join us. You can become a part of the TechPod community by signing up for our Patreon. For as little as $2 a month, you can join the Discord community and talk about all of the things that we listed above, including, I guess a big topic of conversation this week was the Will Smith thing. We also had like extended conversations. Like it's funny because we added a channel about work stuff and people are like asking, hey, how do I negotiate for, salary and stuff in a tech job, in a programming job or in a program manager job and stuff like that. And it's really fascinating. We've had a couple people actually get jobs from people that they know through the Discord, which I think is fascinating.
True. Yeah. A lot of knowledge sharing. It's just a great place to be.
Yeah. Share your projects, share the stuff you love, share pictures of your dogs and your desks. That's all good too. We would love to have you there. The address is patreon.com/techpod. Again, it's patreon.com/techpod. And as we do every week, we would like to thank our executive producer tier patrons, including Paddle Creek Games, makers of Fractured Veil, Andrew Slosky, #BunnyCrimes, Jacob Chappell, Joel Krauska, Measure of a Twinkie, David Allen, and James Kamek. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it.
The Octothorpe has departed.
I figured I'd do hashtag this week because I don't know that everybody, like we have new people. They might not know what an Octothorpe is.
Oh, have you've been making that editorial call?
Well, it was Octothorpe for a while, then he changed it back to the hashtag. But the hashtag is the Octothorpe. It's the same. It's two names for the same thing.
How deep does this bunny hole go?
Look, we're not talking about bunny holes on this show. I can't take more people being angry at me, Brad. We will be back next week with another episode of the Tech Pod. Thank you all for listening. Good night.